Okay. So, are we all set? Are we recording? There we go.
We are.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours. Today's October 23rd of 2020 in the time of COVID. um, you can follow us and our adventures at MVP Office Hours on Twitter. Dale, who is taking the day off today, can be found on Twitter at DZig11. I'm at joy_sh, and Squire is at skirschner _C custom object. Did you catch that? And you can also find more information at mvpofficehours.info. Now, all of the events by Salesforce are in a flux right now. And if you are a fan of in-person events, you have had a sad year. However, Salesforce and our community has been doing our best to keep everyone in touch virtually. Admin.salesforce.com/all-events has a lot of information coming out from Salesforce. There is a customer success event calendar, the bit.ly/SF Cloud SVCS. Trailhead's events and webinars calendar, both Salesforce and community led, trailhead.salesforce.com/en/calendar. And then upcoming Dreaming events that are community led. Dreamforce 2020, the registration came out this week. Did everyone see it? Did you register? I registered and then I started getting emails. I was like, oh, I forgot what I need to do to make sure that I get all of those messages in the right place at the right time. But that is coming up. Banff Dreaming, November 20th. And I don't know what the status of that is. I'm assuming it's going to be virtual, but I don't know the actual answer there. South Florida Dreamin', February 18th and 19th, potentially. And then Dream Olay, May 7th in Madrid, Spain. And the remainder of Salesforce's events are virtual. Don't forget to join your local community group or a community group where you're fans of the leaders. Carlos just popped up in the little grid. Join a Trailblazer group, sign up for meeting invites. And I can't even read what the bottom of that says because things popped around. Okay. So the next thing we need to tell you about is we also have global MVP office hours. Carlos is disappeared. Oh, there you are, Carlos. Carlos actually leads our Portuguese office hours on the last Thursday of the month. And as we have told you in the past, you don't have to speak Portuguese to join Carlos. He will translate for you. So Portuguese, Spanish, English, right, Carlos?
And everywhere in between.
And everything in between, but they'll do their best to help you out there. In the US, we are generally the first and third Friday, and EMEA is the last Thursday. And you can follow the different segments of MVP office hours on Twitter, EMEA_MVP, and Portuguese office hours is at MVPOH Portuguese. And so just to remind you all that, MVP office hours is about serving the community. And so everybody here is an MVP because we're all very proud of you for bringing your challenges and solutions to each other. So that's what that's all about. And we're going to go to the next slide here.
Really quick, just you're about to say it, but good point. This month we were off our alternating weekends. We'll be back on track starting next month. So if your reoccurring event is all messed up, it'll be back on track coming up. So
yeah, if you have a schedule, we jumped the schedule a little bit to accommodate some other things that were going on, and it seemed to work out, and then kind of took care of a couple other things at the same time. All right, so that's the global MVP office hours. Now, the rules, right? This call is being recorded. So keep that in mind because we're going to get to that. But the rules are everybody participates, share your experience, your input, your recommendations, your references, and then don't forget to mute yourself, especially if you're in a noisy office and you have noisy coworkers in this time of COVID. But please mute yourself. To ask questions, raise your hand in the chat or unmute yourself and announce yourself. Tell us who you are. Use chat to post any resources that you have. And then you can share your screen. Now, it's very important to understand that when you share your screen, you are being recorded. If you cannot be recorded, if the information on your screen should not be recorded, then you should not share your screen and you should not remain on the call. You can view this call later on the YouTube library. But just keep in mind you are being recorded. And so if you can't be recorded for one reason or another, then you need to say bye and we'll miss you and we'll see you on the Twitters. All right, so let's see. Oh, and don't forget to use our favorite hashtags, problem solve together, hashtag community learner, and hashtag MVPOH. MVPs, we have Carlos and we've got Squire and I'm here and we've got lots of new faces here, I think, today. Excellent, excellent. Carlos, I'm so glad you're here. I haven't seen you in ages.
Hey, they let me out the cage, you know. And I put on my calendar and I say, hey, every time you guys do recording, you make a nice plugin. But they say he never shows up. I say, no, I own you guys. Sorry for that. So I'm here.
Carlos is here today. So thank you, Carlos. We're excited to have you. All right. And so we do have a question waiting for us. Squire, is that right? About Einstein activity capture? And
Yeah, I know Christy was
contacts.
asking questions in Twitter, and I don't know that if that's why you had your hand up already. So, but,
Totally unrelated.
Just to circle back, so there some new questions about our favorite Einstein activity capture topic has been going through Twitter. Those of you who are paying attention to it, it's been a bit of an uphill climb. So, Chrissy, I tell you what, let's just skip over that if you don't have anything you wanted to bring up in the group and go right to your actual question.
Yeah, so we can do this question, or I have a totally different question. That's why I raised my hand now. So
yeah, whichever you think is more valuable.
we can start with this one, and it's more than, I don't know if it should be called activity capture. It's really insights is what the issue is for this one.
All right.
Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking the Twitter. No. So I realized the other day we've got the Einstein Insights on the account page layout, and it's saying, hey, do you want to add this contact? Do you want to add this contact? And they already exist in the system. Is there a way to not have them recommend? Because I've been finding some duplicates and I'm like, why are there duplicates here? I think the reps are going, oh yeah, without realizing they already exist.
How are your duplicate rules? Have you taken a look at your duplicate rules? Because they might not be finding it as a duplicate because maybe your rules are, I don't know.
So are you saying that Einstein Insights goes through whatever duplicate rules we would have set up before it offers its own?
I'm not
AI
sure.
insights?
I'm
Okay.
not sure, but you definitely tell your team to search before they create new. Like that's, bottom line. They should be searching before they create new. And I would take a look at, the next time you see that pop up, take a look and see if the email address is a little different or the first name, last name is exactly the same, or if there's just not a lot of information on the contact.
Yeah, see, I felt, and my assumption ahead of time was that when you say yes and it's one click and it adds that new contact, it's not the normal, I'm going to add a new contact and it says, hey, this already exists as a duplicate, because it was Einstein. But I didn't know if anyone had magic, but I can certainly look into that. I think it's the same because I saw, there's not that many people named Esther with that same email that is recommending other companies. So.
Understood.
A really quick question. It's going to seem very silly, but it's not that the user who's creating the duplicate can't see the one that's a duplicate, right? It's not if I get that notification, I see Esther and I'm creating another Esther. Is that true?
Oh yeah, no. We have public. All our data is public to everybody in the company. So yes, they would be able to see it, but it's there on that right-hand side as a small component, and they probably are just lazy and go, oh yeah, that sounds great, not realizing that one already existed. Yeah, to get the sales rep to actually look first, that's a whole different issue.
Then activity capture matches the activities to context based on email match, right?
Yes.
Okay. But the contact sync and the event sync works with a different engine. Is that right? Or is it all in the same configuration?
It's been a minute.
Part of Einstein. I mean,
I'm sorry?
No, I think the sync, I don't know how all the back end works of Einstein, you know, all that underneath.
That's all I could think of, is if there was something about the way Einstein Activity Capture is configured on how it decides whether Insights is, because like, let me ask you this question. If it's an email, is it sending the email to Esther, but then saying, do you want to create another Esther? Or is it not even doing the first half of it?
Well, it's already capturing Esther's emails on the side. So on our activity. So it's already capturing the emails. And then up above, it's saying, do you want to add a bunch of people as contacts, because it's captured those emails, even though those contacts already exist?
Sure. So the email ends up with Esther version .1, but then it's saying, do you want to create version .2? Right?
Yeah, but it's the same email, because then later it says, hey, look, you've got duplicates when I'm on her record. So that's my issue right there. Like, damn it.
So Christy, I just posted the help document around this, and you really are going to have to go through it with a fine tooth comb, because they can go ahead and say, yes, create, but then your duplicate rules will pop up if they go to create it and it exists. So is how I'm understanding that. But the link that I posted from help.salesforce.com around Einstein automated contacts will kind of help you kind of comb through all the details around that.
Thank you. And I did not actually click on Esther again. I was just like, why is it suggesting something?
Right. And the other thing is, like, sometimes like I have a handful of email addresses at 2 different clients. They gave me joy@client.com, and they gave me Joy Shutters Helbing at client.com, which I was like, oh, great. Now I have like 2. But when I send emails out, it's my full name, but they still come to Joy. Does that make sense? And so I actually have 2 email addresses. Also, because I have 2 last names, people like to give me lots of email addresses also. And so sometimes depending on how it's being read, it could come across as like an entirely different email address, as something to keep an eye out for. But
Okay.
Einstein automated contacts is definitely something to get used to. And do you have let's leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's cool. So I don't mind getting back in line for other people, because I already had one. So I'll get back in line.
I tell you what, let's call the Einstein one my question. Why don't you ask your question?
Okay. I don't think I have my sandbox open, but so in a flow that I have, if it doesn't find a particular matching name to then update the record, I'm trying to have a fault line, and I'm new at fault lines in Flow, to just, and what it does is it's supposed to fill in the name of a particular pricing manager, right? I want the fault line to just, well, do that guy. Oh, you didn't find any matching one? Great, do this guy. But my fault isn't working. I didn't know if you had some like references you could give me to read more up on Flow faults.
Yeah. So if I can just clarify, so when you say fault, you're thinking more of like a programmatic fault, right? Like no returns, but it's not really failing. So when you like, what are you doing right now? How are you handling I didn't find any records?
Right now, it's still in the sandbox phase. When it doesn't find the record, I believe it's saying there's an error rather than going to that default and I don't even mean the default of a decision node, just that red dotted line part fault.
So the reason I asked that question, and please anyone pop in here who has done this more, but we tend to not assume it's a fault and actually see it as a return of null. And you can have a check that says, is my array 0? And then, or so if it's 1 or more, go one way. If it's 0 or empty, effectively, go the other way. That's how you're going to handle a no find. At least that's how we've done it. Anybody else want to pop in there?
So for each one, because I've got it, and as a matter of fact, do you mind if I share? I do have it up. I could just get it in 1 second.
Let me just give you that ability. 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see here. Go ahead.
Oh, I always forget that extra share button at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in a sandbox, by the way.
Okay, good.
So yeah, that's why I colored it
We like it that
purple, very purple, because you know, different colors. I'm waiting for flows to load, my bad.
Nice tip. I do that on all my demos. I have like a several sandbox, and each one of them I create with a different theme so that they stop looking at the top to say, where am I? I say, you in the purple, you
That's
in
right.
the blue. And if you are colorblind, that's on you. It even rhymes, you know?
That's perfect. And it can't be colored what production's colored for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually going to be, this is a subflow that's automated from a create a pricing request flow. And the decision is, you know, does it go to the queue or is it a local person requesting go find the record? And it was actually Dale's brilliant idea when he was helping me a couple weeks ago to put all of these records on the front side because the pricing team wants to be able to change it on a whim and we don't want to give them access to the backside. So there's a custom
Mhm.
object that says, does this match this, match this, match this, go find that guy. So are you saying, Squire, that in between this part, I need to have a little decision that says, did you find null? Then go do that.
That's how we've done it. So because it doesn't actually error, that's what the fault is handling, right? It just returns no records. So the query result, the array is 0, and so it just goes, okay, what do I do? And so in our case, we have a couple of them where it's the other way around. Like it should only work if you only get 1. So if our size is greater than 1, that's actually the error that we want to capture, but it's more like an assert than it is a flow error. And then we have decision points out of it.
Okay.
And there's a really slick, I think it's, well, I should say slick because it's been forever since I used it, but it used to be kind of a hack to say, what's the size of the array? I think that's a standard formula now. You can just say, is array X greater than 0?
Okay, and ours should literally find 1 or find the first one that matches that. And so I love that idea of saying, okay, put in a decision to say, well, if you found none, go do this other thing. So awesome. That was perfect to help me.
And actually, the way we've used that even more so, just to build on that, is we have that 0 flow, then jump to a screen element that says, do you need to create one before we continue? And then it'll loop back in and say, okay, you just created someone. Now assign that person to the thing if you ever need to go one step further.
But this isn't the screen flow part. This is the automated. So actually what we want right now is, since pricing is going to manage all those records on the front side with the object, I want it to go to the manager to say, guess what? You got one. Maybe you don't have a record that you should have had a record for.
Yeah, perfect. All right.
You.
Well, I hope that works for you.
Yep.
That's a great flow, by the way. That's demo worthy. You should walk us through that sometime.
I would love to. It goes with the other one. I'd love to walk you through it. As a matter of fact, there's a totally different flow that Salesforce was going to put in their playbook, but they wanted my company name and my company information and their use case. And my company said no. Y'all suck.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Christy. That was great. Marty,
All right.
you are up next.
Hi, this is Marty. So question, more opinion question. I'm a consultant and we're about to connect RingCentral to Salesforce. So it's a 2-part question. Does RingCentral also allow SMS texting? And if not, does anybody have suggestions to an app exchange so someone can send text to a number of contacts at a time, kind of like a list email?
So let's break that up. So the first question, the one side of it is, does anyone on the call have familiarity with RingCentral? Silence is...
Okay, I will continue to research that.
Do you have an account rep that could help you with that question, or are they kind of leaving you high and dry?
Well, because I'm the consultant, so I will find that out.
Okay, cool. All right. So then from the other side, SMS from the platform, I know is capable, but I don't have any familiarity. Who does?
No. Okie doke.
No. There is, there's some stuff on the App Exchange that you can take a peek at. I
Yeah,
can't
and I've-
recommend anything.
I've looked, the best place I have found to look is in the Power of Us Hub, because I do some work for some nonprofits. They have recommendations. So I
Okay.
found a couple there, but I was hoping for personal recommendations. All right, thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, that was an easy one.
I'm gonna while we're taking I think Brianna was up next. But Marty, there's an article, a help article as far as text message options in like the Salesforce help. I'll find those links and put them in the chat for you.
Great, thanks very much.
You bet.
All right, Brianna, you can unmute yourself and let us know what's going on.
Hi, everyone. I have a report that I didn't create this report, but in previous similar reports, I had built a variance column because they like to see the, to 2020 to 2021 variance, blah, blah, blah. And it worked at some point, and now the same formula is no longer working. And I have tried a bunch of different things.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
What report type are you using?
It is a custom report type.
Can you explain more about that custom report type? Is it an object with or without?
Yep, it is. So
It
we
won't
have,
work.
okay.
I literally ran into this yesterday, and I was doing the same thing. I had a row level formula with a variance, and that won't work with, you don't get row level formulas with object with or without.
Okay.
I will find the link because I
so
was
helpful because I was
banging my
losing
head.
my mind.
Like
Yeah.
you can do a summary, but you can't do it on the line.
Okay.
And so it's, let me try to explain this better. For whatever reason, the row level formula is not available on report types that are with or without that secondary object.
Blame
So this
Steve
is-
Moe for that.
What?
Oh, sorry.
Blame Steve Moe for that.
Why do we have to blame Steve?
Hey, if it doesn't work, it's because he has already tried everything. He's the guy, so we can blame him.
So I know why. So row level formulas run in runtime, and when there's a without, it's actually a null record and it blows up the calculation. It can't handle it.
Yep.
So that's why you can't do a without, because if you do pull back a without record, and it doesn't even see a data point in order to apply the formula, and so it craps out.
Yep.
So
But
this would be true even for because I'm trying to do a summary formula column with like the prev group val.
So that's different.
But if
Those should work. It's just the row
Okay.
line errors.
The row level formula won't work, but a summary formula will work, but the formula is going to be a little different
Okay.
because it'll be a value sum plus
Can I
minus and all that good stuff.
share my
Yeah.
screen real
Of
quick?
course.
You have no idea how excited I was when you like started talking about this. I was like, oh my gosh, I know this one.
Yeah, so this is what I've used on other orders, and so it is an order with order lines, and I could have them rebuild it with we have a report that's just order lines, and I don't know why they don't use it because we don't actually use the orders. It just was something we have to have for our integration. And I've used this pretty much same formula before and had it work, and now it just is not showing anything. I wasn't sure if it was because we had multiple summary levels, so I took one off and it still wasn't working. When I try to re-input this field, like this invoice date field, to make sure, like I just want to make sure that the syntax was correct, it adds sum, but then I get an error saying that that's not a real field, so then I have to delete the sum part.
So if I could jump in, so it's not the row level summary report or row level formulas like a report formula. It's these previous val, group val, and sum vals that you're focused on. 'Cause it's two questions. That's why I want to make sure.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's a summary formula that they want because they want it per these groups that you can see. on the left-hand side.
Just to follow up with what you and I were talking about, you're talking about the actual inline report formulas that don't work with a,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So not this calculation, but when you
This
can
one-
just compare
right.
two columns together within the
Yep.
report itself.
Correct.
Um,
So this one we should be able to work through.
Yeah, absolutely. By
Okay.
the way, super giddy that anyone is using these. So many people don't realize that these are both here and how powerful they are. So love seeing that.
It took a really long time to figure out how to get variants, and I was like, it shouldn't be this complicated. And then I got this in and I was happy, but now
Yep.
I'm unhappy because it doesn't work again.
All right. So I tell you what, I would maybe start from scratch just to see the error that you're describing, because we might be able to help you just from like multiple eyes.
Sure.
I was gonna say you can copy and paste this if you need to put this on the side or something, and then.
Well, yeah, I can just do a new one.
Mhm.
And we're all going to stare intently as you click, because that'll make it a lot easier to get the work done.
Okay. So it should be the we have too many fields on this object.
You say too many fields. I literally just ran into field limits on a client's
Oh
org
no.
for opportunity and lead.
Yeah.
They were all set to do like 2 check boxes for something. And I was like, well, you can't. You only have 1 field available.
Pour one out for everyone who's had to deal with that.
Mhm,
We
for
just
sure.
turned 100 check boxes into 75 and felt like it was a victory. So if that makes you feel any better.
That's amazing. That's
Okay, so I
amazing.
want to subtract the amount or the previous from the previous year. So I'm doing here's the other question, I guess, is originally they had been using, instead of over here on the left, you can see it's grouped by invoice date. And then I used like the custom thing to show the date by year. But we
Mhm.
also do have a column that's just date. And originally they had used that here, but that hadn't worked either. So I don't know if that makes a difference or if it should just be able to say, like, I know you're grouping by year. So when you use previous group val and you give me this field, I'm looking for 1 year earlier.
Yeah, I mean, the group, the way you display and the column itself being added are 2 different things. So as long as the column you're trying to summarize
Okay.
by is actually a grouping, you're fine.
Okay.
And if you want to prove it out, you can always just not group by it to start, even though you're gonna have a million lines, just to get the formula
Sure.
calculate, and then you can add the grouping level, like group by day, basically.
Or did I do this? Sorry, did I do this reversed? Sorry, previous group val still boggles me a little bit. Is it?
It boggles everybody, even people who've used it 100 times. So don't feel bad. While you were clicking, I was trying to find. I think Salesforce Ben. I'm trying to find it. Someone did a great like blog post that really broke it down to say, like, even though they're saying this is what they really mean, and how to like template and walk you through the workflow. Sometimes that's all it is like, especially these, you say previous group val, I need this column. Why doesn't this work? And then you realize what they really meant is the column grouping header summary row. Like you had to like write that big long thing out. So while you're walking through that, let me see if I can find it. Let's assume that sometimes doing it fresh is all it takes to fix it, and then we'll all slap high fives.
Okay, so the summary field is the field that I want it to use. It's this invoiced amount, right? Okay, there we go. And then grouping level would be the year.
And then the increment, right?
This all gets. Yeah. So this is where when I'm inputting it, it's giving me this invoice date sum, but then it's telling me that's not a field.
That's so wild. You know what? Take out order line double underscore C dot from that field. I'm grasping and try to validate that. And no,
I have it in 2 spots. Should I?
let's check spelling. Yeah, right. And
Because you gave me that spelling.
it changed though, you see? So it, yeah, interesting. That field doesn't exist. Well, that is bananas because you literally just grabbed it. But it is around, does it have something to do with the fact that it's a date?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, so that's why I was saying we do also have this year field we could use, but it wasn't working with that either.
Would you do me a favor? Are you able to get the previous group val just on its own to work? So what don't compare to, just do one piece of it, because I'm wondering if there's a if it's actually at the summary level that it's breaking down, not the formula itself. So if you just write a previous group val calculation, even if it doesn't apply, and get a error message, let's see if we can figure out if that's what it is. And unfortunately, my screen is so tiny; it's hard to see.
I know, and my glasses are in the other room.
Sorry. I don't
No,
know
no,
how
you're
to
fine.
Zoom
You're
in on
fine.
this.
It's this whole COVID
Actually,
thing.
before you validate, would you also click the display tab, because I want to see the summary.
Yeah, and I tried messing around with this too, and did not get
And all
much.
this
But
does,
I can.
they changed this interface, but it just helps build the thing out. So that's okay. Go back to the general then. All right, so you've got your invoice amount column being converted, the sum of those, that's fine. At the order line invoice date aggregation level, so it's trying to let you sum, and maybe that's the issue, is that you can't sum the date. So it would be what is the aggregator there? It's going to be,
Yeah, that I think we're running into the date. Like, how do you sum a date?
yeah, let's see here. And I just found my article. It was Automation Champion that had the write up. I tell you what, let me dig through this article. We'll move on to the next question, and then before we're done, we'll either circle back with answers or get you on the right path. But I think that's where your gap is that it doesn't like the sum aggregation on that date field, even though it should work. I think that's what's going on there. So
Okay.
so
I guess, yeah, are you looking for like the number of days? Or are you looking for?
They're just trying to group the sales by year. And so I put the date field in, but they had previously just used the year field. There's a year field on every record,
Yeah,
every sales record. But that wasn't working either. But maybe I'll go back and try that again from scratch and see if that does make a difference, so that I
Right.
don't have to group by date field.
right. Because I mean, you should, shouldn't we be able to like identify that date and then say like group it by the date and then say group by date, week, month, year, quarter? Like, isn't that a choice on the dates?
Yeah.
And so,
But then when I insert that field, it's calling it a sum and then it's whacking itself out. I don't,
because you're looking for a variance between the years, right?
Yeah.
And so so you're not really, the variance isn't between the dates, the variance is between the value of the years. And so what value are you measuring? Are you measuring like the total amount of opportunities, or the total amount of
the total order
orders?
line amount
Okay, and
in
so
a
we
given
didn't,
year in a given group.
right, well, we didn't talk about the amount when we were looking at that sum yet. And so we might need to go back and look at that, the amount. Make sure you get the amount field in there somewhere.
That is the summary field that I'm using.
That's the summary field that you,
Yeah.
all right.
But I'll try a couple things.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get you. We'll get you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
I'm clicking away right
Dates.
now. As soon as I find it, I'll post it.
Dates and summaries. Do we have any other questions?
Oh, we have lots. Ernesto, I think, is next up.
Ernesto, are you ready?
Yes. Hi, guys. Okay, so I guess I'm going to try to make it simple. So I have a custom object, and I think I'm just going to share my screen. I was working on a quick video to have a visual because it's sometimes I get stuck on how to explain it. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Share, let's see which one it is right there. Okay. Do you see the video?
Now we do, yes.
Okay, great. I can zoom in if I have to.
I would
But-
love that.
Okay, I'll try it. See if we can fit it. Okay,
Oh, I like it. That works.
perfect. So basically, after many implementations of this, the idea was simple. We have opportunities where they lost, there is a ramp up time of quantities of the product. So what that means is the first year I'm buying 100,000 pieces. The next year I'm buying 250,000. And then as the market increase, which is my forecast, then let's say year 3, I will have 1 million pieces. And then year 4, I have 2 millions. And then year 5, I have maybe the same or less. So because of that, what I ended up doing, I did it in many different ways. And the first time actually it would actually work, but the report looked weird with repetitions, so that I may change it. So the last implementation of this was I created text fields called year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, with the relatives amount and price and the quantities, the price, and the total amount. The problem now is that I cannot answer the question of, okay, for year 2021, what is the amount that I'm forecasting? Because they're in different fields and each field has different values. So for example, if you look at this top here, year 1 in 3 different opportunities has 2020, 2021, 2022. Those are 3 opportunities, okay? They're separate. Year 2 has 4 opportunities. Basically 4 opportunities, okay, sorry. The opportunity A has year 1 as 2020, year 2 as 2021, year 3 as 2023, year 4 as 2024. What I'm trying to do now is to grab for each year based on the value and put it in one field so that I can create a report on the opportunity to know what is the total amount for the year 2020 across all the opportunities and years. I don't really care which opportunity comes from. I just need to know 2020, which is across multiple years and multiple opportunities, what's the total amount? So what I thought of doing is something where I can say, if year one equals 2020, then move in 2020 bucket or field or whatever that might be. So I was hoping that a formula field will do it, but it's not really. So I guess, again, to do this, what I have to do is look through all of those squares and see all the 2020 field values. I have to move it into the 2020 square. I know it's probably hard to understand.
So the one thing I am definitely seeing here is that this solution is going to need a lot of maintenance.
Yep.
As you go on and on. Excuse me, I like had a major coughing fit while you were explaining this. And so that's my first challenge, is that like the scalability of this solution is going to require hand holding for forever. And you're going to have to go in and handle this for quite some time. And so these are forecast amounts that you have on opportunities.
Yeah. But yeah, so the trick is that for each opportunity, we have 5 years of forecast.
Because it's a subscription, or is it a
No, it's a product.
It's a product, and they just incrementally get more each year.
Yeah, so basically I work for Salesforce is for this company called Silgan Dispensing.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they do is your soap they use at home, that you have a pump.
Sure.
They do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So
and
basically, let's say today they're selling 1 million. Well, next year, maybe with the pandemic, obviously their sales went up because now everybody's buying hand sanitizers.
And everybody's washing their hands.
Yes. And now people are washing their hands.
Right. Oh, gross.
So you see where the years increases and changes go.
Right.
So that makes sense on a sales part. The way that I did it was to add a product for each year. So this way they can have a nice and clean report.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do that, it replicates all the other fields basically multiple times on the report, which if you look at it from our standpoint, it will probably make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're saying, hey, you have 5 years of data, each row is a year, but you see, for example, the product name 5 times. So that was the issue. Just a visual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then, because this guy is higher up in the company, I fell into the trap of just make him happy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm stuck because I can't find a solution to grab all the 2020 amounts across those years and put it in one place.
And so each opportunity is holding 5 years of product.
Yeah.
Okay. And the product line items, do you have a date? You have a year on the product line item?
No.
Okay.
That's what I had it before.
That's where you
That's
had
how I
it
set it
before.
up the
And
first
then-
time. Yes.
And they didn't like the way the report looked. Is that the?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I know. It's giving me headaches every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I give them both scenarios. Like I even split the reports, so actually they had less repetition, which
Mhm.
is very nice. The problem is, So I was like, okay, well, to fix the report, I can do this. But now the question that I have, of course, is, well, what's for year 2021? And we can't answer that question without,
Mhm.
manually looking at things. And another part, we did a little bit of a formula to do check boxes. So basically when it's a 2020, it will check a box, but it still doesn't give me the results.
Mhm. Who's our
So
forecasting, our product and forecasting experts out there?
I mean, for me, it will be, I mean, like what I was thinking in my simple mind, because I'm not an expert at this, I was saying maybe I can write a where clause where I can say if year 1, 2, 3, 4 as 2020, grab the amount and put it in a field. And then I can create a report of that field that I know that only 2020 data is there. Is that possible? Or is it just too simple?
When you say there's only 2020 data there, you mean only opportunities that are closed won in 2020 or only products that are?
What, like
part
the
of-
value in those fields in year 1, year 2, year 3, it's equal to 2020.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I have SQL, a little bit of SQL experience. So what I will do here is select the year, right? Look at the year. If the value is 2020, then move it in this field right here, 2020. Correct? So that's what I want to do, because then if I can do that, I can hide those fields and just use it in the report.
I'm with you, Ernesto. I like the logic because you've got a text year field
Right.
and you want to come at it from 2020. I'm just wondering if a case formula won't do that. Because it will return a value from a different field based on the formula set up as a case.
Right. So yeah, those are cases, right? So the problem is, one, I don't know how to do it in Salesforce, but now I can find out.
Yeah.
I can learn it. I'll learn as I go. So
Aren't we all?
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
but, okay.
The case formula function is actually really powerful, and so, but it is going to need some, you know, some maintenance, because you are looking at a text field, and it's not, you know, it's not an incremental field. It's a text field, and so
Yep.
Keep that in mind. And in your description, make sure you make notes about how that can be modified in the future for
Right.
yourself, because if you need to modify it 2 years from now, you're going to be like, how did I do this again? And like, leave yourself a breadcrumb trail.
Yeah, maybe I can do like 10 years and then not worry about it.
Well, you don't want your formula so big, right? You just, the smaller the formula, the better, right? But
Yep.
set yourself up for success when you or someone else has to update that field in the future. But
Right.
the case function, I agree, Mike, that's probably gonna help out here.
Okay. I'll try that. It's
Okay.
it's amazing because I have, well, how do I say this? I have 2 developers and it doesn't seem they're giving me any options. They just go, it's not technical possible. I'm like, okay, well, you know, that's what I hear all the time. And then 2 months later, we can do it. So yeah,
Right.
I don't believe it's not possible anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to
I'll try that.
Spend
Thank
some
you.
time with it. All
I
right.
just needed somebody to point me to a direction. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Ernesto, for sharing that with us. And you,
Yep.
and let's see, Square, you said Pete was up next, and
Yeah.
we've got 10 minutes. So
All right, yeah, let's start with Pete.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll try not to take a lot of time. I'll do a screen share. So I have,
Right.
we have a platform, and in the case situation, the users, my customers are doing an email, and they're running into situations where they can run into multiple options on a particular record. And we're wondering if there's a filter functionality in this part of the email. So here's 2 Justins, one's an external and one's the internal.
Mhm.
There's a filter capability on this email.
So you want to filter what will return in the search? Is that what you're saying? So
Right.
and what would the filter be like? Just, it would just know to only pull the Safe Street ones or something?
Right.
That would make sense.
In this case, Justin happens to be both a employee and a customer. So, but yeah, we're just trying to keep it internal.
Is that the compact view that we see, Square, or the mini view that we see when the, like for Justin and his email address? Or is that,
That's usually the compact layout is what you're getting there. Although in the email it might be even less than that because it's like a pop-up in a pop-up.
right, and I'm wondering if that might help you, if you can't filter it, but I don't know.
I can't think of a way to apply a filter to the email template.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything.
Because it's not like a standard lookup where you can filter that way. I mean, this is just a straight up search.
Right.
Having said that, I thought there were search features.
Do you have, it doesn't look like you have Einstein, do you have Einstein search set up?
I don't know. I'm new to the team here, so.
Yeah.
Okay, because you can definitely try that out like in your sandbox or by like one user, like by yourself as a user to see
What
if
would
that would
that
help
do?
at all. Einstein search, I don't know if it'll help or not because I just turned it on myself.
And
I'm
you
just
think that's-
wondering if it would give you more robust information in the to field.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you-
at the end of the day, though, even if it tells you more, it might not limit the list. So I don't know if that helps with this one, but I mean, everybody should be thinking about Einstein search in general. That feature functionality is so great. But
Yeah, it's really cool. I had I had the CEO watching me demo something. He's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's something I'm trying out. You'll get it soon."
Yeah. Okay. Since I wasn't very long, maybe I can steal a second one. Anyone know what this error is on a report?
Report definition is obsolete. Oh,
I'm doing
so
some research. I'm getting different things like the object might not be. Yeah.
I would take whatever objects you think you're reporting on here.
Yeah,
Because
I didn't
obviously,
build the report and I can't get into it to see it.
right, but based on like what that is, like
Right.
this is a dealer funding report. So
Right.
think about what objects you would expect there. And then I would go to the back end and look at the
Report type.
objects
Yeah.
and the relationships that may or may not be there. The other thing is setup. Audit log might give you some clues, or custom report types might give you some clues.
I heard the custom report types. What was the first one?
The audit log, because that gives you
Audit.
6 months of data. So if this report worked a month ago and now it doesn't, you might be able to figure out what happened.
Perfect.
It could be something as simple as the field between two objects that held this report together
Yeah.
isn't there anymore.
Right.
So
Okay, that's all I got. Thanks so much.
And that's a good point, Becca. If you're able to just check and see if the object is still reportable in general, even if because usually if you disconnect two objects, the report types immediately delete because it sees that sort of stuff. So you usually can't even run it, let alone get an error. So it makes me think that either, to what Joy was saying, either the object isn't reportable anymore, or the field is no longer visible to you, but the report is still runnable, or something along that line. So I would start at the report type, verify the joins are what you're expecting, and make sure that you can actually report on all the objects in that report type, and then go.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you create a custom object, one of the first things you do when you're filling out like the name and things like that is, can you report on it?
Right.
And
This is Todd. I had that issue earlier this week, and I was in the wrong console.
Oh.
And I was using basically I had a bad profile that didn't have access to that object.
Right.
So yeah, that error that caught my attention.
The problem, I say, I can't get into the report to figure out what the objects might be. But Joy, like you said, maybe I can.
You know,
so you don't even know
the
the
other thing,
object.
can you look at it through Workbench? Like what that report type what report type that object relies on?
Okay.
To maybe sleuth it out a little bit more. If Workbench is still working, anyone know?
It does. It's just not supported, right?
Right. That was my last update. I hadn't tried it this week, so I didn't know.
When you say you can't get into it, just curious, like when you don't have access to setup, you can't edit the report. What's going on?
I can't edit the report.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I can't view it, I can't edit it.
It's a may, or maybe like the custom report type was deleted.
You'd get a totally different error. If it was
Right.
deleted.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
If you can't edit it, boy, yeah, that's weird. It's almost like it got moved on you. Yeah, this will be a fun one to pull apart. I wish we had gotten to it sooner. Sorry.
That's okay, thanks so much.
All right, what do we have? We got Christy.
Yeah, I just have an experience question. I'm trying to help we're planning a way to handle like customer interests. And the decision was to go to multi-select pick lists. And I know Steve Mo said, I know your eyes go really big. I felt the same way. I was like, don't do it. Steve Mo says, no, don't do it. But then, okay, then he was like, okay, but you know what? For the formulas, we just adjust. And I have been using include instead. So I get clean, it seems, formulas. Tell me more what I should be knowing about where it gets you in later on.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. I mean, the big one comes down to reporting.
It is reporting.
So
That's the big one.
every time you aggregate by that field, you get a common delimited list of everything that was selected, not individual groupings. You're
Oh, I
includes.
see what you mean. Because it treats each combo as one thing. So it's never going to look for that item within the combos of those things.
So Christy, I have a question for you. The reason you have the multi-select pick list is because you have, what's the number of interest items that you have in your multi-select?
Well, we want to grow it. I mean, we were moving from using categories, which is a text string. I thought that was simplest, and you can always search in a text string, but they want consistency of that particular pick list option, and they want to be able to open up to be bigger. And what's scarier is they want to grow trees off that pick list, and I'm telling them, you can't go down too far. You're going to really, I'm never going to be able to get the data if we go too far, but I like that aggregate point. I don't think he realizes that that's a biggie, that then I can't do a clean filter or
Right.
look for things clean.
Because if they select, say, item 1, item 2, and item 3, that's going to be different than if they select item 1 and 3, or difference if they select 1 and 2. Those are 3 different columns, like 3
Yeah,
different
I get it.
things. And so column 1 doesn't ever add up the right way. The product interest is an interesting challenge. And you know, maybe it's for the leads coming in the door, right? And to see like, okay, well, what are they interested in? Where do they want to, where should we focus our efforts? Like what team is going to be working on this lead?
No, it's more like marketing and then figuring out how to create campaigns based on those criteria. So
Right.
like
And
you
they want to
said,
be very granular, it sounds
Correct.
like.
and we also want to have growth to be able to go bigger. That's why my categories text string was kiboshed, because you have limits.
Yep.
Any other solutions on there to?
You could do dependent pick lists, and you know, you have a category, and then you have the more granular under, you know, category detail, if you will.
Are there limits though when you use tree, you make it too many trees that?
It gets to be very challenging to maintain with the grid that you'll be setting up with that. But you know, I don't know what the actual limits are around that. Does anyone else have an idea on that one? I'm sure there is some limit out there, but I just
Well, and you still have the limit of you have to start in one spot, and so if you have if you immediately have a branching dependency, then you're dead in the water.
We can't go past one level then of
It goes 3 or 4 deep, right?
Okay.
But again, like let's say you've got entertainment and marketing as 2 different choices. If they're not, like, you should still only pick one, right? And so if you start on like on a marketing tree and you need to get over to the entertainment tree, you won't be able to get there anymore. So let's just for a second, because while multi-select pick lists are the bane of most of our existences, there is significant value in them when you know why you're using them. So like what you're describing right now makes perfect sense. You're not going to be doing financial aggregation by pick list choices from this. It's just information, right? And I know how it's built and how I'm going to use it. And so the end result is okay. But like when you do something like a multi-select pick list on opportunity to know like the business type, you're dead now. You can't do any sort of calculations. So there's value there. As long as you've thoughtfully decided that, then just stick with it.
Yeah, but for my marketing purposes, I need to be able to pull a report cleanly, show
Yes.
me all people that are interested in healthcare. You know what I mean? So if
Yeah,
I,
and in that case, you can, right? You can run the report and say, give me healthcare, but you wouldn't be saying, I need to know the total number of people per multi-select pick list type, right? You're not doing that sort of math.
oh yeah, I see what you mean. No, so then it is okay to use multi-select pick lists if I, as a criteria for simple reports to build campaigns.
Sure, or any other report. Just I mean, it's the data aggregation layer that really comes back to bite you. If you're just using it, think of it like I want to be able to have keywords in a text string that are like limited to the choices that I want to have available, and then I'm going to just pluck those out, whether it's names or states or versions or whatever. Like that's your use case. You're just building a sentence that is of validated sequences.
Oh, so can it still then look and filter on this text string within the combos, like we said, because Joy brought up the point that aggregated data. Oh, so if I'm counting, I see what you mean. If I'm counting individual people who have this interest, then I'm dead in the water. But if I'm building a campaign, it's just looking for a text string, I'm okay.
Yeah, or even going one, like, let's back up. So let's use Joy's example of you've got people that have picked A, you've got people that have picked A and B, and you've got people that have picked A and C. If you just want to say how many people have ever picked A and you'd use includes like you did, you're great. But if you wanted to do how many people by category, you're going to get a row of A's and a row of ABs and a row of ACs and a row of BCs and a row of ABCs. And that doesn't tell you anything. And you can't even make columns out of them because they're all different strings.
Okay. And it might be different. It might be the same people counted twice, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that if that's the sort of outcomes you want to have, then you might want to come up with a back way of maybe you have a child record that represents marketing strategies and a flow that helps build those records. Or maybe if the list isn't too long, heaven forbid, a bunch of check boxes. But then you can filter and aggregate and do what you need to do there. Just be really thoughtful about why you chose that, and not I need to be able to pick a bunch of things and then kind of stop your thinking there. My favorite terminology is SIPOC, which is it's a process management tool. So if you have a problem, a P, and that's all you do is solve the P, you're gonna give yourself a challenge, because SIPOC stands for supplier, input, problem, output, and consumer. And if you don't take that step wider and say, well, where's the data coming from and where's it going and who's entering the data and who's going to be reading it, you won't actually solve the problem. You're only solving the P. So that's the same thing with the multi-select. When you what you're trying to solve is, how do I pick a bunch of choices? Oh, multi-select. But if you don't take that step out and say, okay, but because I need to report aggregated numbers or easily report them or generate sort of trend analysis, oh, that's not going to work. I need to re-solution my P to get my SIPOC closed up. So
how would you get it down to being able to count unique persons, though? If I did stay with a multi-select pick list, which sounds like to be the default answer.
How would what? I'm sorry?
How could you get down to counting individual people?
So you wouldn't be able to use the multi-select. You'd have to come up with a secondary tool to do that math. Either, let's assume you don't want to build an object just to store the results of a pick list. So maybe you have, how many choices do you have right now?
Well, it's going to expand. It can expand to be hundreds. I mean,
oh boy, hundreds is going to really be a problem.
Well, okay, maybe we'll start with 20. I mean, we didn't build it yet, so.
If 20 is probably manageable in kind of a clunky way, so you might be able to bury some fields in the backside that say, as soon as anytime someone picks choice X, check X's box or something along that line, and just store data points underneath.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But if it changes regularly, or you're going to go to 100 or 200, 300, that's just not sustainable.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's that custom related object, right? That's
Yeah.
like your product interest is like record 1 and 3, or record 1, 2, and 3, or record 1 and 5. Related to your lead or your inquiries. So that's that's gonna be the most scalable and the best way to grow, so that you're not wait, hi Bruno, you're not building a small scale solution that can't grow with
Yeah.
you.
The nice thing about that too is let's talk about that SIPOC model again. So if you have hundreds of choices and each one of those is equally valuable, you might then ask yourself, well, maybe we should be collecting other information as well. As long as we're collecting the picks, maybe we need to know who added it and when and why. And so then you can have a really good reason to have a child record that then says, I'll make up my example again of like someone added marketing on January 1st and then took it off on January 2nd. So is that a typo, or they checked out of that interest level? You can have flows to say anytime someone adds can't think of anything right now, Dreamforce as a
Interest.
is an interest, kick off a workflow and send them this cool information or this link or this chatter group. Like you can start building on that. If we have 100 choices, there must be 100 reasons for those choices. So let's figure out how we can leverage that more.
Yeah, buckets, bigger buckets. Always keep it to bigger buckets. Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense.
All right. Hey, Squire, I got to bust out of here. I got to get on a call that started 8 minutes without me. So,
All right, off you go. Everybody
Great.
stayed on. Thank you so much. There's going to be a couple extra posts in the success after this to try to follow up on Pete and sorry, God, my brain is just mush today. Brianna's questions. If you have more questions or you have ideas, please post out there.
Yep, we love to hear from everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Take care, Joy. Bye. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Good to see everybody. Bye.